How do you gut someone?
Always trust my gut.
Hello and welcome to Gutted. I am Elise.
And I'm Tony, and we're here to spill our guts about horror films.
And we are continuing with the films that introduced us to the horror genre.
Mm-hmm.
Last week we discussed Child's Play, which was Tony's foray into horror. And then the week before that we discussed Leprechaun, which was my initiation
That's
into
right.
horror.
A lot of fun.
Lots of fun.
Yep.
And today we will be discussing a film that came out at a time where it could have been our first horror film. It came out in 1984, which was a big year for horror films. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Children of the Corn.
Gremlins, which I feel like kind of is in the same vein as this movie.
That's right.
And based off of this movie's poster, it looks like it could have been a horror film geared towards kids.
That's right. And today we will be talking about Ghoulies from 1984, written by Luca Bercovici and Jeffrey Levy, and directed by Luca Bercovici. Sorry if I messed those names up, but that's the best I could do.
I mean, they're not household names. So. And we've never seen this movie before. We've passed it by in the Blockbuster or Hollywood Video.
It has a very memorable VHS or DVD cover.
It really has an adorable poster.
Yeah, where there's a little guy in a toilet
goblin
with a crop top.
With a crop top and suspenders. I don't know why I always passed it up in the horror section. I just never saw it.
And I'd always mix this movie up with the Critters. I know it's kind of way different when you actually see the two cases, but in my memory, in my kid's brain, I just thought they were the same.
Yeah, we did get into an argument one day about the existence of Ghoulies, and he's like, "There's not a movie called Ghoulies," and I was like, "Yes, there is."
I thought she was making it up.
He's in a toilet. I would never forget that.
I know.
Little did he know. So we've never actually seen this movie beyond the poster. So this will be our first gut reaction episode where we have watched exactly one half of the movie so far, and then we stopped it, and then we kind of went into different corners of the room and wrote our predictions of who will die, what will happen, and who will get to live on for the sequels.
That's right. And we try to keep it very exactly one half of the movie. We actually set a timer.
For to the second.
We looked at the runtime of the movie, set a timer, and then stopped.
I think it's 40 minutes and 50 seconds.
So the movie in itself is an hour and 20 minutes, which was very common for movies back then to be short.
Yeah, it was very hard to stop it too because it was getting good.
Yeah.
So we will discuss our predictions using our gut feelings, and then we will come back for our gut reaction.
That's right. But before we get into this episode, I should warn you that there will be spoilers, so listen or watch at your own risk. Although in this first half, we can only really spoil the first half.
We can only spoil the first half.
Because we're going to be looking at the movie without having seen the second half of the movie, so some of the things that we are going to predict or talk about may be wildly off from what actually happens.
So if you've not seen Ghoulies, then, when we take a break, then you can pop it on the TV.
It'd be kind of fun to kind of play along if you haven't seen Ghoulies.
See if you're right.
If you have seen Ghoulies, then you could just laugh at us making fools of ourselves.
Yeah.
Welcome to this world.
All right, so the movie starts with almost like a pagan ritual. I'm not sure. I'm not too savvy.
The movie starts on a ghoulie, and we don't know what it is. I mean, I'm assuming they're called ghoulies. But it's sort of a snarling little creature with a bunch of like snot and hair, and it looks like it's a caged beast.
It's rather ghoulish. Yeah.
It's rather ghoulish, and then yes, and then we get the pagan or the satanic ritual, like a
we're not
blood
quite
rite
sure
or
what
something.
kind of ritual, but they use the word magic a lot. So maybe it's just a magic ritual.
Just like a very generic satanic magic.
Satanic magical ritual where the
There's a sacrifice.
lead magician sacrificer has glowing green eyes, so he's not good.
Yeah, he kind of looks like Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, he
me of.
does look like Rutger Hauer
These
with
glowing
green eyes.
Yeah.
It's actually really hard to tell who this guy is because of his glowing green eyes. I looked him up. I don't think I recognize him from anything else.
And he's just kind of like chanting away, and they bring this little baby up to the altar.
Little baby, and then the baby cries, and he's about to stab it with a dagger. And the mom, who's in the front row in her white gown, she unsheaths her head. She's like, "No, you promised, not our child." So she is.
Who is this guy? He's going to sacrifice his own kid.
Son. Yeah, he's heartless.
But he can't sacrifice the kid because the kid has some sort of
mom
electric
medallion.
Right. So there's like
last second.
And it kind of shoots electricity out and protects the
and
he kid.
Gets PO'd. He's like, "Ugh, fine, forget it. I won't sacrifice him. But you, Mom, I'm gonna sacrifice you."
There's a lot of magic going on. This kind of unexplained magic where he kind of just Jedi forces the mom away. So it's like, be gone.
Be gone. And he makes her stand up and stand in the corner. Ugh. But then, meanwhile, the caretaker, some other guy in a white robe, takes the baby who can't be sacrificed and takes him outside. So he will be the caretaker of this baby.
And this guy, like, when he took his hood off, we were both like, is that Randy Quaid?
Is
but then in other shots, he maybe looks more like a John C. Reilly or something. I don't know.
No, he just looks not like Randy Quaid later on.
But the opening shot, I was just like, oh, is that Randy Quaid?
I got really excited. Rutger Hauer and Randy Quaid and Ghoulies.
So we have this guy who's protecting the baby, kind of like takes the baby away and hides the baby.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Mom's back inside and she gets to be sacrificed, and
they swap places,
giving birth through her chest with this.
She's getting lump. Kind of like a really kind of I would call it like. It's kind of like a chest burster or like a pimple pop, like this
a giant
boil thing.
Yeah.
But they don't show it. But they do like really kind of cutely, the ghoulie kind of covers.
The little rat mole.
It's too horrifying.
Ghoulie. He's like, I can't even watch this. Even though he just like bit her hands. And wasn't he the one biting her hand, like, making her...
Yeah, there were a couple of little creatures. We didn't see what
did the ghoulies impregnate her in the chest cavity with their bites?
I don't know if they got that dark so quickly.
Well, because her hands were down and she was bit in both hands by two of these like mole rat ghoulies, and then all of a sudden her septum is like, not septum, what's that called? Sternum. Her sternum is giving birth to a little boil. We don't know what it is.
We don't know what it is at this point, but
cut to maybe like 20 years later.
It's like cut to, and then there's this sort of college guy. He's wearing the Letterman jacket,
and his dad.
He looks like a frat
there's
guy.
A narrator. The caretaker, I think, is the narrator. He's like, "Oh, and his dad died a horrible death, and now
I never wanted the baby to know who his evil father was.
Yeah, his evil father, but now he gets this awesome property that I've been the caretaker of, which he's been doing a terrible job, by the way.
I'm the groundskeeper of this place, but I've been neglecting it because I'm busy doing my voiceover career.
I mean, he's basically a squatter and voiceover acting on the side. Yeah.
And so we have the baby. We're assuming it's the baby grown up. I mean, we know it's the baby grown up.
He's the baby grown up. He's like 20. He has this cool girlfriend or wife named Rebecca.
Sort of like thin, red-haired, blue-eyed girlfriend.
Mm-hmm. And she's got a very interesting look. And she actually is one of the better actors of the film.
I think so. I think she's, at least in the first half, I don't know, maybe some of the ghoulies will have some really good performances. Maybe she gives up
towards the end. She's like, oh, this isn't worth it. But she's like really giving it her all. She has like almost a very like nuanced performance. I'm like, good job, Rebecca.
And she's moving into this place that he inherited, and it's unclear if they're husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend, because they're in college. We know they're in college. Later he talks about dropping out of school to fix up the place.
That's a terrible idea. He's like, I want to be, I just want to be a homebody for the rest of my life. This place is awesome.
But I'm thinking maybe they're like grad school level, or because
I got the feeling he
I
was
get the
in-
feeling that they're married.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
seem more like a married
They
couple.
do seem like a married couple. Like there's some reason why she can't just peace out and say, "We're done, buddy." 'cause
Right. If they were just like
I'm making
boyfriend
you
and
dinner
girlfriend.
and you're not eating it. That's the last straw.
Yeah, she wouldn't put up with as much from
No,
this
she'd
guy.
be out, but she has to. She's like, well, getting a divorce is messy.
But this guy, who we later learn his name is Jonathan, and we learn that the girlfriend's name or the wife's name is Rebecca.
Mhm.
We don't know the groundskeeper's name.
His name's Groundskeeper. No, wait. His name is Wolfsbane or something.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Wolfgang.
Yeah, he's German name of some
His
sort.
name is Wolfgang.
Wolfgang.
And he's very
groundskeeper.
stoic. When Rebecca meets him, she extends her hand to shake it, and he's like, no. With his eyes only. He doesn't actually say no. He's just like, mm-mm.
So he's inherited this place. They come across a sort of like creepy gravesite, and they're like, "What's that?" And he's like, "Don't pay attention to that. That's just."
Yeah.
It's like, it's cool, isn't it?
Yeah. This house has a lot of character and cobwebs.
And the house is this big giant castle mansion type
and
place.
it makes sense he has to drop out of school to tend to it because it's massive. So
That's
it's
right.
like, well, you kind of have to.
Groundskeeper isn't really doing
He's
much
not doing
there.
anything. He's just sitting in his little cubby reading a book every so often.
He's got the little guest house in the back, and he's just kind of hanging out there.
Yeah, and Rebecca is rightfully bored. She's eating dinner of like dry lettuce and cranberry juice and a chalice, and Jonathan's no fun for conversation because he's deep into his magic book, and she's like, "Let's have a party." He's like,
"Well, so we should talk about the magic book." So he goes down to the basement because he's just kind of like checking out the place, exploring. It's covered in dust and cobwebs, and there's rats behind the books when Rebecca pulls a book out. A little rat there.
Highly unsanitary. Like the rats are in the library.
So the place needs some tending too.
And
so
the rats aren't just outside and in the basement; they're in the bookshelves.
That's right. And so he's in the basement and he's exploring. He finds this chest,
magic book,
and he opens up the chest and he finds this sort of cloak, ceremonial cloak with the necklace. And I think the necklace does like a little glow.
Shines. Yeah,
there's like a little.
Yeah. Oh, this is Daddy's magic vest.
And the book. And the book has just he opens up the book and it's like pentagrams and occult.
He's like, oh, this is interesting.
Writings.
Always wanted to learn about this.
But it's almost like he's drawn to it. The movie kind of gives the sense that this is his destiny.
Yeah,
this
is
just fulfilling his destiny.
It's his inheritance, and it's in his blood by this point. So he has no will of his own, basically.
So he's taken by this book.
He's taken by the book,
and meanwhile,
Rebecca's bored.
Like, well, what does she suggest?
She's like, let's have a party.
Yeah, she's like, we got this great place. It's kind of in bad shape. We're in college. Let's have a party.
Let's have a ranger. Who cares if it gets damaged? And then cut to all their, hooligan Motley Crue friends rolling up drunk on their scooters, break dancing in the middle of the floor. All their pot joints falling out of their pockets.
Yep.
It's like, my friend's terrible.
I think he does the Homer at one point where he's
the Homer.
Kind of, I mean, if you don't know what that move is, it's like when you're in one stationary spot and you're kind of like running around on the floor. I thought that was
the Curly from the Three Stooges.
It probably is. I know it as the Homer though.
Oh, okay. I always thought Curly from Three Stooges.
That's probably where Homer got it from. Stuff. Yeah, stuff gets recycled and borrowed and all
one's that. One's animated, one's live action.
Well, anyways, they're at this party. And they're just, college party. They're all drinking this wine that looks like cranberry juice.
It's like not deep enough red to be like,
it could be
red
Franzia.
Wine. Could be. It looks like Franzia. It has that kind of almost like magenta hue to it. Yeah. Yeah. It looks good. They're having a good time. They have I would say their core friend group of 6 people. I think 4 of them are dudes and 2 of them are ladies.
Right. We're introduced to kind of all the side characters here. So we get the 2 stoner guys.
We have the 2 stoner guys. One of them's name is Eddie. The other one's name I didn't catch because I don't think they said it. Mark?
I think so. I can't remember.
Oh, it was really I couldn't tell. So we have one of them is Eddie, and they're both stoners. And then we have Dick, who is supposedly the ladies' man.
He kind of reminds me of if you were to mix Cosmo Kramer with Morrissey.
Oh,
that's
interesting.
the look that I get.
I was thinking Ace Ventura.
Yeah, I can see that a little.
There's he's got the Ace Ventura jaw going, where it's just kind of got a mind of its own. It's wiggling around.
He's very there's a caricature about him.
Yeah,
He's
it's
not
like,
very naturalistic in his
I'm
acting.
like, he's gonna get TMJ for sure, moving his jaw
Yeah.
like that. But
And then we have the Toad
Mariska Hargitay. I
Mariska.
really
Okay,
want to talk
yeah.
about her. I was very excited when I saw that she was in this. I
And
saw
she's
her in the
just
opening
a
credits.
friend. And
She's Donna.
she's Donna.
She's Donna. She seems very normal. I'm like, what is she doing with these jokers? I mean,
But
Rebecca
she's dating
seems normal.
one of the weirdest characters that
Named Toad.
the Toad Man.
The Toad Man. She dated one date.
One date.
Yeah, and then she asked, like, do you think he's a virgin? And then Rebecca's like, I'll tell you who's not a virgin. Dick, the guy with the wobbly chin. I'm like, really? You think so?
So Dick meets someone. He walks outside, and there's this
Robin.
You remember all the names.
Well,
That's good.
Thank you. Well, I was like, that's why I was like boggled when they didn't say certain names. I'm like, I don't know his name. Barely knew Jonathan's name.
Well, they all have distinct styles too.
Mhm.
So Robin has she has this leather jacket. She kind of looks like she's straight out of Thriller,
Yeah,
1984.
she looks good. And
Yeah.
rightfully so.
She's
Dick is
the hottie.
taken with her. And she's like,
So they all couple up pretty quick.
Yeah.
And they're going through this party. You know, the guy does his goofy dance, and then they're trying to figure out what to do later.
They're like, let's have a seance.
Yeah,
Let's have a ritual in the basement.
Jonathan
This is Jonathan's grand plan. They're like, okay.
Yeah.
And so they all like huddle down in the basement, and Jonathan like draws this giant chalk circle around all his friends, and they're like, ha ha, Jonathan.
And of course he's taking it way too seriously. His friends are trying to joke around.
They're trying to do the hokey pokey, and he's like, shut up.
Robin at one time does a fake scream, and he's just like, shut the hell up.
She scolds her so violently, and we don't even see her leave.
She pieces out. She's like, oh,
I'm over this.
This sucks.
This stopped being fun like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. So he's going along with this ritual.
Yeah, he's trying with all his might to conjure something out of the concrete floor. And his friends almost believe it because they're so drunk. They're like, huh? What's going to happen to that floor?
And Rebecca, she's kind of like, how'd you learn all this? And he's like, I don't know. I guess I just know it.
Came to me.
It's deep inside, from inside of him.
She's like, interesting. Anyway, nothing comes out of the floor, disappointingly. And they're like, well, where'd Robin go? Let's go find her.
Yeah.
So they all split up.
But then
we
see a little ghoulie appear.
Right. They all leave, and a cute little flash of light, it like comes out of the concrete floor, and out emerges a ghoulie.
They're little creatures. For those who haven't seen it, I would say they're about a foot tall, maybe shorter.
They're a little slimy looking with sparsely placed hair.
They almost look like little hand puppets. It looks like someone is, I don't know, they're like very erratic in their movement, and they kind of have that little
yeah.
And they're always kind of gnashing and stuff.
They are definitely gnashing.
So this particular ghoulie, because they all have different characteristics, or at least at the point of the movie that we got to meet some other ones. But this one kind of looks like a mole.
Like a mole rat. It's got a little large nose, so I'm guessing it's got a great sense of smell. But I don't know if it has eyes.
It looks like it's blind.
Could be blind, but it can smell. So.
But it appears, and it's like we get introduced once again to these little creatures.
The creatures, yeah.
And then they kind of just move on. So then it kind of becomes about.
Oh, and the dude that did the Homer / Curly and lost all his pot joints on the floor. He's like, I'm gonna get out of here because I gotta summon something out of the bathroom. I feel like that's foreshadowing.
Okay, we'll talk about that later when we get to our predictions.
Okay, and then we later see that Robin is outside staring listlessly at the grave, just kind of twirling her hair. And then Dick and Jonathan find her, and they're like, Robin, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I don't know, I was just drawn to this grave. And then Jonathan also feels kind of drawn to the grave, and he's like, what's in that grave?
There's some crazy stuff going on here.
Something's going on with that grave. Oh, and then we see one of the stoner dudes, I think both the stoner dudes, in one of the bedrooms, and they see this really creepy puppet type doll that looks like a vampire.
Yeah.
Ventriloquist dummy, and it we get hints that it has like a life of its own because at one point it's on the chair
Mm.
and then it's in the closet. So I feel like
Or is it
that's
the
gonna come
ghoulie
in.
messing with them?
No, I think it's its own thing. I think that's gonna come in later
So there's
Yeah.
more things that are
because it's magical.
possessed.
Magical.
The whole house has
Yeah.
this sort of aura
So
of
it's like I
possession.
think we have this idea that maybe it was like a paganistic ritual, but I think maybe it's more magical.
Mm.
So Daddy was deep into magic, like dark magic.
Well, then party's over, and then we kind of the movie kind of focuses on Jonathan and his obsession with the basement
obsession.
and with this book and with the occult, and he decides to drop out of college.
And he gets better and better with summoning the dark forces. He's wearing Daddy's robe at one point with his scepter, and he gets a full-on thunderstorm in the basement. And that's when Rebecca walks in. She's like, "What's going on?" "Oh, I know what's going on." I'm like, "Do you, lady?" There's a thunderstorm in your basement. She goes back upstairs and she's like very PO'd.
Maybe she just thought that he was like this
Sweaty.
avid cosplayer kind of guy. Like, oh, you have this
pipe burst. And...
like, oh, you have this secret occult fascination life.
I mean, was cosplay really a thing in '84?
No, I don't think so. But or maybe he was like really into Dungeons and Dragons or something like that.
Okay.
He was a warlock.
When did Dungeons and Dragons?
That was
come out?
definitely in the 80s,
That was 80s,
for sure.
80s?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry, guys.
Maybe in the 70s. I don't know.
Okay, I don't know either. Anyway, so this is like Rebecca's moment. I really liked her in this kitchen scene where she's like pissed. She's making an omelet and Jonathan's trying to like canoodle her and she's like, "Get away from me. I'm about to backhand you with my omelet pan." And she doesn't say this, of course. She says it with her body language.
She's not feeling his newfound attitude of, fasting and getting
he's like,
the chills.
She's like, "I made you dinner." He's like, "I'm fasting." I'm like, "Really?"
I made the note that he got the Amityville chills. So
he got the Amityville chills.
It's just like in Amityville Horror, you move into the house and then all of a sudden
within
you're
days,
like taken.
He got like dark, sallow eye circles. And
he's got the shivers.
And total personality change.
Mm-hmm.
And so she turns around and her expression changes from annoyed to concerned. And like this guy that she knew, I didn't recognize that man downstairs summoning a storm in the basement. Who is that? And not the weatherman. Dun, dun. Anyway, they need to rekindle their relationship fast.
Yeah, so something's going down and he's kind of placates her a little bit.
He's like, "Don't worry about me."
He's like,
"Okay,
I'll stop. I swear I'll stop.
Yeah. Backtracking a tiny bit, he gave her this beautiful medallion to smooth things over from whatever before.
That he handcrafted himself.
Hand chiseled.
We also noticed that he's really great at drawing circles and straight lines. So
the actor himself, like we saw him draw straight lines and circles on the floor, and I'm like, that's really good.
So maybe he was going to school for some
architecture?
Sort of maybe he's an architect.
Like he must be something
or
to
a graphic
draw
designer.
Those lines like that. I can't draw a circle.
But he also blacksmith that medallion just kind of
like, ting,
in
ting,
the fire.
ting, ting.
In the
and
fireplace.
when you look at it, it's so intricately chiseled. This little pentagram or
this guy's got a future in
star.
The craft world.
Definitely. Sure. Yeah, he's going to be a blacksmith for sure. And he gives it to her and then he's like, "Never take it off." And she's thinking how sweet. He cares about me and he wants me to wear this to think of him, but really.
But of course he's just playing her and he's
playing her.
Yeah, he's like, still obsessed with his
magic.
His rituals and he's outside at one point and then actually at this point we get to meet the rest of the ghoulies because he summons. He's out front in the house.
It's dinner time, and he's outside when he should be inside eating his dry salad and drinking his cranberry juice with Rebecca. He's outside summoning more ghoulies. And we get
to meet all the this is like one of the highlights of the first half of the film for sure. We get to meet all of the ghoul. I don't know if it's all the ghoulies.
Well, we meet 4 at least. Well, we have the mole rat from before, and then we meet 3 new ones.
Yeah, so the first one we meet is this sort of green slime guy from the cover.
Yeah, bald. He's the one that gets the crop top later, I'm thinking. Yeah, and he comes out of like the swampy bog.
I wonder if he ever gets the crop top in the actual movie.
I really hope he does. That's in my predictions. he gets a wardrobe.
Yeah. He decides like, oh, I need to...
He's like, I need to look good when I'm killing people in the toilet. I'm gonna wear a crop top and pumps,
That's right.
suspenders. Um,
And then we have the mole rat
The mole rat.
kind of emerges from the
we
ground.
have like a shaky, uneasy cat.
Yeah, it's actually, I think that's my favorite ghoulie.
know,
Is
mine too.
looks like a cracked out cat.
And he's very
owl,
shifty eyed. He's like always looking to the side and like and drooling. He's got a bad
just
problem.
drooling with snot everywhere, and
and he's
they all have
shaking.
the sparse hair and
Yeah.
stuff.
And then the last one, you don't really get a good peek at this last one, but it's kind of like a spider monkey.
He emerges from a tree and like
From a web.
From a web, yeah.
Yeah. So he's like really like half spider, half monkey.
That's right.
Yeah. So those are our 4 ghoulie friends.
So we're introduced to the ghoulies.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then after their big fight, this is almost when we had to stop. After their big fight, they're like, okay, we have to rekindle this fast. So cut to the bedroom, and Rebecca comes out of the bathroom looking all like cute. And
she's got a little nightie on.
Yeah, she slinks over to the bed, and she's wearing her medallion with her negligee. So she heeded his advice, and
Jonathan, he's looking like, I don't know. Something about him is he looks like an abuser. He looks a little abusive. I mean, he's showing these signs.
His behavior is like verbally and emotionally abusive.
Yeah, and a stark contrast from the opening scene when we meet them, when he's really gentle and really nice and sweet.
Gentle. He almost like has like a slumped over posture, like I'm a little insecure. But then he gets like, I'm really confident now with my what are those called? Are they called
with my
beaters?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's terrible. With his tank top, I'm gonna call it a beige tank top. It's very tight fitting.
Yeah.
And he's in bed waiting for Rebecca to slink over, and she does, and they're like, canoodling, and then he gets a little aggressive, and he starts like whispering sweet nothings in Latin.
Right. He's speaking in tongues as they're getting into it.
And she's giggling. She's like, what are you saying? And then he's getting a little forceful, and like his weight is on her. And he's like, looks like he's trying to pin her hands down. And she's like, whoa, buddy, what are you doing?
But meanwhile, under the bed, we have the
mole rat ghoulie with his glowing.
He's got his own little ritual going on under the bed, and we don't know what he's up to, but he looks really sneaky.
He does look very sneaky. He's like giggling, or maybe he's just giggling because what's going on up above him.
Yeah,
he's like a little teenager, little teenage ghoulie.
So that's the moment that we stopped.
Yeah, right when Rebecca's panic starts to rise in her voice. You're like,
so we didn't even finish that.
And I really wanted to see what was going to happen, but yeah, he's just like, E pluribus unum. I don't know Latin.
He's speaking in tongues.
Yes. So that's where we stopped.
So what were your impressions of the first half of Ghoulies?
What are yours?
So, okay, my first impression was, we decided to choose this movie because we thought it would be a horror movie for kids. And immediately upon watching it, I was thinking, I could kind of see it appealing to kids, but I don't know if it really falls. I feel like out of the 3 we've seen so far, Leprechaun falls the most under that category of like, this could be a kid movie.
Yeah, I don't know though, because comparing it to Leprechaun, I feel like Ghoulies can be considered geared towards kids, or at least in that like kind of gateway mentality, like how Leprechaun's almost the gateway. It wasn't specifically for kids because it wasn't like Ernest Scared Stupid, but there are some adult elements, but also there are those kid elements with like the cute little ghoulie puppets.
Yeah. And do you think they did that intentionally, or do you think that's totally unintentional?
I feel like it's intentional. Like, when did Labyrinth come out? I feel like
that must have been,
was that around the same time?
Probably close to the same time.
Because doesn't Labyrinth have all those cute little like animatronic puppets that really appeal towards kids? I feel
and Gremlins came out in 1984.
Well, I can't say that they were copying Gremlin. Well, wait, first Gremlins 1?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, they can't say they copied them if they came out at the same time. I'm thinking maybe, I feel like Labyrinth was before. I'm guessing, not positive. But I do kind of feel like it was towards kids. But
as far as the movie, I mean, it's fun. I wouldn't say it's something, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's great.
I mean, it's fun. It's fast. It was easy to get through the first half.
Right.
I would say the most difficult thing was knowing who the characters' names or what the characters' names were.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting.
I did really like Rebecca's performance.
Yes, I think
feel like
Rebecca's doing a solid job.
Yeah, some of the other characters are a little more
I think, okay, all the
kitschy.
females are doing great. Marishka Hardigay is doing great. And Robin is she's doing fine. I mean, I don't think she's had her moment to shine yet, but she's definitely not a caricature like Dick and Eddie and the other stoner and Toad. Just like, what are they thinking? Where did they get their motivation? From Ghoulies. I feel like they all got their motivation from ooh, they're all almost like reincarnations of a ghoulie.
So do you think that Ghoulies are sort of like the little shriveled eels in The Little Mermaid?
Yes, they are the little urchins in Ursula's lair. And so when, she wants to, she can make you big, or she can make you tiny like a ghoulie.
So anyone who's been sacrificed or...
Anyone who had to give away their voice, gets turned into a ghoulie.
Well, I was wondering if like anyone has been on the sacrificial altar becomes a ghoulie or something like that. Because she did kind of give birth to that little...
One of those ghoulies is his mom. Maybe the uneasy cat.
The uneasy cat is the mom.
I feel like she would be the mom.
Well, we didn't quite get into predictions yet, and that was maybe like a prediction that just happened on the spot because I didn't have that in my notes, so I don't want to.
It's not in my notes either. I just thought of it, but I mean, I will take that back. I will recant that prediction.
So should we get into our predictions?
Yes, please.
All right. So in the predictions part of this, we are going to talk about, or we're going to try to make predictions on who dies, who lives,
and maybe like 2 or 3 plot points.
Couple of plot points.
And so when we come back with our gut reaction, we'll kind of like, tally up how many things we each got right. So we get a point each for a death.
Yes.
You get a bonus point for saying if you guess how they die.
Yes.
And then you get a point for like, each plot point that you say.
That's right. So kind of fun making a game out of it, making a little bit of a competition.
We'll see how this goes.
Lisa's actually usually pretty good at predicting how movies go. I'm always impressed.
Oh, thank you.
By the way that you can do that. Oh. And some of my ideas might be way out in left fields. We'll see what happens.
I mean, this movie kind of seems out in left field. So that could be the ticket that you need to win this game.
All right. So would you like to start?
Sure.
All right.
Let's see. Okay.
So let's start with who lives. No, let's start with who dies.
Yeah, let's start with who dies.
Who dies? That's more fun.
So I'm gonna guess that Toad for sure gonna die.
Toad
for sure. Toad Man's gonna die. And I'm predicting that he's going to die by that green ghoulie in the swamp. Because his name's Toad, he's going to fall in that bog, be like a toad, and then green ghoulie's going to swim over and like bite him.
Bite him and he drowns.
And he dies, yeah. Okay, your turn.
All right, so I am predicting that the groundskeeper is going to die, and I think that it's going to happen at a climactic moment. I actually think it's going to be a moment where he saves Jonathan.
Yeah. Like his whole life was culminating to this point to save the son of lead warlock.
Yeah, and in the start of the movie, he is protective of the babies, and it seems you kind of get the sense that he's been looking after Jonathan this whole time, trying to protect him from the evil family.
Because he doesn't have a life in groundskeeping. His life is for Jonathan.
Yes,
it's interesting. My prediction with the groundskeeper is that he gets to live. Actually. He's one of my survivors that I have.
Okay.
Yeah, I have that he... I'll get to that in a little bit.
Okay, let's continue with who else dies.
I'm going to continue with one of my deaths. Dick for sure. Dick's going to die. He's out. And because of his name, and he was so cocky when he told Donna his name, I think he's going to get bit in the genitals
Oh, okay.
by
And that's
the
going to kill him?
by the uneasy cat or something.
Maybe he gets bit in the genitals and then does like a 10-foot back step and falls
I
off
wonder.
of the...
I mean, like when the mom was bit by the ghoulies, she just kind of like wiggled, and then she, gave birth through her
chest. Yeah, the chest burster.
what is that called?
Her sternum.
I thought it was sternum. Okay. Yeah. So he's gonna like wiggle. I think he's just gonna like maybe explode. Maybe they'll explode. Okay.
So I should quickly mention, because we do have a little bit of crossover here, and this is we didn't confer with each other before, so we're just finding out about our lists right now. But I also have that the Toad Man gets killed by the toad-looking ghoulie. And I just put something a little more generic. I didn't put like killed in the bog. I just put he gets bit or mauled.
Yeah. I think that's pretty apt. Yeah.
Because that guy's got the little sharp teeth, and he's kind of like
and he looks
buff.
like a toad.
He looks like the main ghoulie. I can't decide if he's the main ghoulie or if
he is
the rat.
lead. I mean, rat
mole.
is like the main henchman.
Okay.
But definitely, I'm thinking bald toilet ghoulie. He's the lead ghoulie.
And then I put that that Dick is also going to die. He just seems like a character that's
die worthy.
His character seems like it's set up to be off.
Yeah.
A lot of times in horror movies, it's like the unlikable character that...
I have a feeling that he's thinking he's gonna get lucky with Robin, and he's gonna kind of like do like a little like striptease dance, and he'll be like bottom naked, or maybe at least like wearing boxers.
Yeah.
And then that's when like Cat Ghoulie comes up and bites him, and then he shrivels and blows up.
That's a good one. Can I use that for my prediction? Because I actually didn't write I forgot to write why he or how he dies.
Oh sure, take it.
Okay. I'm taking that one. So he's about to get lucky.
And
then he gets offed.
Bit. Not so lucky.
Okay, who's your next? I have 3 more people that I think are gonna die.
Okay.
I think this is gonna be a gore fest.
Oh, I think it's for sure. It's gonna be a death fest for sure. Yeah. Okay. And my next 2 that are going to die, the pot dealers. One of them named Eddie. They are going to die. So the one that did like the little breakdancing move on the floor, he's gonna die in the bathroom because he made that comment before in the first half. When they were all done with like the little seance in the basement, he's like, I'm gonna summon something in the toilet. He's gonna go to the bathroom. That's when lead Ghoulie's gonna come out in his crop top and bite him in the bottom, because that's funny for kids. And I think this is a kid movie.
I also have that. I didn't put that both of the stoners are going to die. I just put the stoner with the small glasses, who would be the guy who was doing the wacky dance and lost all his drugs. And I also put that he's going to die on the toilet.
Yes, definitely going to die on the toilet.
Yeah. So I, a lot of crossover here. I'm very surprised.
I know.
All right.
And then his partner in crime, he's gonna die by that creepy puppet thing that was in that room that popped out of the closet. I think that puppet thing's gonna I don't know, like jump on him or hug him.
He's gonna fly out the window.
Yeah, they'll probably fly out the window. Anyway, he's just gonna die.
And I wrote that the Robin, the thriller. I wrote thriller girl. She's going to die. It just seemed like she was being lured out to the grave area, and it seemed like maybe they were setting something up there. I also forgot to write how she died, so I am bad at this game already.
Well, it's our first time. It's fine.
Maybe, okay, if I had to come up with it on the spot, I'm going to say that whatever's in that grave is going to come out and grab her.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Return the living dead.
Yeah, and I have some predictions for that as well later.
Okay. So I do feel like there are bigger things planned for Robin, because she left that circle early and was kind of like captivated by that grave site. So I feel like she's going to kind of get hypnotized or entranced by the magic of the house. And she's going to be like first in line to be in the cult, the magic cult. And so when Jonathan at the end, I'm thinking he's going to have like his big magic moment. Robin is like his transfixed henchwoman who's going to help maybe other victims who are unwilling, help hold them down or do his
she's
bidding.
in on it. Yeah.
She becomes in on it, not by choice.
Do you think she's going to replace Rebecca as the girlfriend?
No. No, she's just like the lackey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But then she will eventually die. Like she'll probably get like electrocuted by like that scepter thing, or some magical thing is going to happen. She'll like zap to death. Yeah. Okay. And then Donna, Mariska, she's going to
Donna's
make it.
gonna?
She's
Oh,
going
she's
to
gonna make
make
it?
it.
Okay.
She's too sensible
She
to
has
stick
to.
around.
She has to go on to do SVU.
She's got to do SVU. Yeah. So and in the basement, you had a hint of her sensibleness. She's like, it's kind of spooky down here, guys. Let's get out of here. I think they're going to have a second party, and she'll be like, this is stupid, you guys. We're like, weird things are happening. Our friends are disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a mole rat running around. I'm getting out of here. I think she's going to peace out because I want her to live.
I have, so, aside from characters, I also wrote down that I thought that a couple of the Ghoulies are going to die.
No.
So I wrote that I predicted that the spider monkey and the disturbed cat Ghoulie are going to get nixed by Rebecca. And I imagine that she is going to fight back.
Yeah, she seemed like she's a fighter.
Yeah, she seems like a fighter. With the way she reacted with the pan when Jonathan came up behind her.
And then he like tried to touch her. She smacked his hand away.
Yeah, she seems like she's a tough. Strong
she's tough
lady. So she's going to get the best of the spider monkey and the disturbed cat Ghoulie. And I chose those two because I feel like the main Ghoulies are the toad one, or the green guy,
the toilet guy,
and then the mole rat one.
Yeah, I agree. I
feel like those are the two main Ghoulies.
Yeah, the spider monkey, I mean, they barely showed him. He seems
so I feel like the spider monkey is gonna get
they didn't invest too much in his prosthetics. They're like, get rid of that one.
Any more?
I have like a couple plot points.
Okay, let's go over the plot points.
So Rebecca, very shortly after this, intimate scene with Jonathan, she's gonna get impregnated by Jonathan's like magic seed with a Ghoulie.
She's gonna be
the ultimate Ghoulie. So it'll be like Rosemary's Baby, but Ghoulie style.
Oh, man.
And so she won't know she's carrying this Ghoulie child. She'll be like, I'm pregnant, yay. Maybe this is what, Jonathan needs to, turn his life around and stop being weird. And then weird things are going to happen. She's going to like look at her belly one day, and weird little like hand protrusions that have like 3 fingers are going to start like trying to like, poke through.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, this is not a normal baby. But she is going to fight. I do think she's a fighter.
So she's going to be pregnant lady fighting.
And I think she is going to die. I think she's going to have a death scene.
Did you put that in your predictions?
Yes. Because she's pregnant, this Ghoulie baby's going to like pop out. It's going to get the best of her, unfortunately. She'll die. And you'll think that she's about to get the upper hand until she like her belly opens up and she dies. And that's when caretaker Wolfgang kind of like, he finally starts tidying everything up by hiding all the dead bodies for Jonathan, and helps Jonathan with his like, cover story. Like, this is how we take care of this problem so you can live on for the sequels.
And we forgot to mention who we think is going to live, actually, before we get to the plot points. Just to go back. So yes, you had Donna. I had Rebecca. And I think we should disclose that we think that Jonathan is going to live, but the reason why is because I accidentally
saw on IMDb that he's in like Ghoulies 4, and I'm like, oh man, it could be a prequel though.
And they could always bring back characters.
They can always bring him back, yeah.
So, but
like he could die. He could still die.
Once we found that out by accident.
Yeah.
I put that. So in my plot prediction, I also agree with you. I think that Jonathan is trying to have a baby. I mean, we saw them with the ritual under the bed, or the little like whatever that is under the bed with the Ghoulie.
Yeah.
I thought that he was wanting to have a baby to kind of complete the blood ritual, kind of like
make her have a baby fulfilled. So he can kill it. Oh,
yeah, kind of like
dark.
to kind of go back to the opening scene where he was the baby that was going to get sacrificed.
It's like, oh, they messed up with me. I'm not going to fail.
So he needs to have a child for the sole purpose of sacrificing this child.
To what end? Like, what is his ultimate
goal? This is a dark movie.
This is kind of dark, a dark children's movie. So, okay, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, Jonathan has to live and Rebecca has to have that baby, so we can figure out what was Daddy Warlock's ultimate goal. He wanted to sacrifice this baby to what end? So we had to figure out what was going to happen, and we'll find out with Jonathan.
And so my second plot prediction was that Dad from the beginning scene Daddy Warlock is there he's actually in the grave, so he's buried in that mysterious gravesite, and he's going to come back and try to kill Jonathan. But
unfinished business.
Jonathan, so Jonathan's kind of redoing this whole blood rite. He's trying to do his own thing, and Dad comes back and tries to kill him, but the Ghoulies are going to save Jonathan, and they are going to have to choose between Jonathan and
the
Dad, and they're ultimately going to choose Jonathan. The dad.
What?
They're ultimately going to kill the dad.
Okay, yeah.
And then Jonathan is going to come to his senses, and he's going to be like, "What? Like, what was I doing?"
Yeah.
The Ghoulies are my friends,
for setting me straight. Yeah. Okay.
Any other plot points?
Oh, hold on.
I've got one more.
A little quick skim
It's a small one, but I got another one.
No, I think that's it. I'm spent.
Okay, so I have because I was trying to figure out, like, all right, we have all these side characters, and we know that they're there for the purpose of getting offed in the second half of the film, or at least I think so. So I was thinking, how are they going to get back to that house? Like, is there going to be another party? Like you mentioned, another party.
Yeah, another party.
I was thinking that Jonathan was going to invite over the close friends to do another ritual, and he's gonna under the guise of something else, or like we're hanging out having some cranberry juice wine.
Yeah. It's a baby shower for Rebecca.
I thought that too, actually. But so he's gonna somehow coerce them into coming back for another ritual. Whether that's another college rager, I am not sure.
A baby shower rager. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm excited to see the second half. So at this point, we're going to pause here and go watch the second half of the movie and come back
tally
and see
up our points.
If we were right. Tally up our points and see who wins.
Who had the most gut feelings.
Yeah, who had the best gut feelings. Who trusted their gut. All right, we'll be back in a bit.
Oh, thank God. I thought that you really hurt yourself.
All right, we're back, and we just watched the second half of Ghoulies, and oh my.
What a surprise ending.
What a surprise.
After the bedroom scene, Rebecca does not stay to go all the way with Jonathan. She pieces out, and what does Jonathan do? He doesn't try to get her back too hard. He goes back down to his basement.
He just goes right back down to evil summoning. He just can't get enough.
Evil summoning. And it works, you know. Isn't that when he gets his two minions, Grizzle and Greedy Gut?
Yep, Grizzle and Greedy Gut.
They're not ghoulies. They're minions, and they are there to do his bidding.
Yes. And he tests them first by saying, if you're really going to work for me, you have to drink from this chalice.
Drink from this chalice, and if you're worthy, then you won't blow up or get a flame.
Yeah. And of course they drink.
They drink and they're fine. And they're like, what do you want, master? He's like, I want knowledge, power, and Rebecca.
Yeah, like, so ultimately we get to what he wants. He just wants everyone to submit to him.
Yeah, and he's a romantic. He wants knowledge and power, but he also wants Rebecca. So cut to that night, I'm thinking she's at his door, and we think that, like, she's under his spell, but it seems like she's not. She's like, I want you to come away with me. And he's like, no. She's like, well then, Jonathan, it's over. And she rips off his well-chiseled medallion. And it seems like that's what makes her more susceptible to his mind control.
She rips it off, and then she's mind controlled by
And she's mind controlled.
Grizzle and Greedy Gut. Two lovable characters.
Yeah. And did Jonathan have a gun pointed at her?
It looked like he had a gun, but he could have just been using the whole like Jedi.
Oh, like it looked like he was about to shoot
sorcery
her.
powers, the satanic sorcery.
He was gonna shoot her, and then all of a sudden Grizzle's like, no, I can take care of this. You don't need to shoot her, hot-headed John.
Well, we also found out that Jonathan needs 7 other people for a full moon ritual.
They're like, it's a very dangerous ritual, but you need 7 people. Perfect. I only have 7 friends.
And then I forget, what's the ritual for? Just to get power?
Well, I don't think we're supposed to know yet.
Okay, so we don't really know.
It's this ritual that he has to do to get knowledge, power, and Rebecca.
And a bunch of little ghoulie friends.
John's just lonely. That's what it comes down to. And so cut to that dinner party with all of his friends, his 7 friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Rebecca's included in that.
They're
7.
all wearing glasses.
They're all wearing
because he's wearing glasses.
Because he's got demon green eyes.
He's got the glowing demon green eyes.
Wonky green eyes that are going in different directions.
Yeah. And so he needs the rest of his friends to wear glasses.
And I was thinking,
that way he doesn't have to take off his
that's a good
glasses.
cover up. Like, I'm having we wear glasses at night party. I'm not sure when that song came out, but
yeah, I wear my
it's
sunglasses at night.
It's a theme party.
That was in the 80s.
Dick even says, why are we wearing these dumb glasses? And he has the worst ones, to be fair. They're like motorized windshield wiper glasses. So no wonder why he wants to take them off. They're probably heavy. They all stand up to cheers, and that's when
they're drinking the cranberry
wine.
Yep.
And they all stand up to cheers, and that's when they kind of go catatonic, and they're teleported to the basement to do this crazy ritual. And after the ritual, they're teleported back upstairs, and then they all kind of snap out of it. They're like, oh, that's weird. And that's when Rebecca's like, Rebecca and John are like, we're going to retire for the night, but you have the whole house at your disposal.
We're kind of split up and let's see what happens.
Yeah. Terrible hosts. You don't just say, we're piecing out.
We didn't eat dinner because we already ate.
We're fasting still. Yeah.
And then also we're going to go to bed early.
We're going to go to bed.
Horrible dinner party.
Yeah. But they do pair up. Marishka, aka Donna, goes off with Toad. What does she see in Toad?
The ritual, it summons we get Daddy back.
Oh right.
So in the grave.
That's when we got Daddy Graves.
Yep. Malcolm Graves.
His last name is
in
Graves.
The grave,
which
yes.
I think we find out once the grave rises out of the ground. It actually says
it's like Malcolm Graves. And that actually meant nothing to me because I didn't know that it was Jonathan Graves, and I didn't know that his name was Malcolm Graves.
But it's like, oh, that's cool.
But I mean, you kind of figure like that's the dad. Like you knew exactly what was going on there, what they were trying to reveal.
And Daddy Graves, he is like this weird vampire zombie. He's doing these Nosferatu poses where he's like,
he has the little nod to Nosferatu coming down the stairs.
He does
with
like
his
hiss
hands
at something at one point
across his chest, fingers splayed out.
He's all pockmarked with death. And then we see Donna and Toad by the bog, which is kind of like one of our predictions. Toad starts inappropriately tickling Marishka. And I mean, she's smiling, but to be fair, most people smile when they're being tickled, whether they like it or not. And he's like, I'm going to keep going. She loves this. And she flings her bracelet into the bog, and she's like, you better go get it, you Toad. And he does. He's like, oh, something green and gloppy at the bottom. And then sure enough, green ghoulie pops out, launches onto his face.
But we find out there's not just one green ghoulie. There's like a bunch of them.
They procreated.
There's at least 4.
Yeah. They had a good time in there.
And the ghoulies are when Daddy Graves comes out of the grave, he proclaims that the ghoulies are actually under his control. They've been doing his evil bidding this whole time.
You're not here for Jonathan. He's got Low level magic.
Yeah, so we
Not
know
a real
there's
deal.
going to be some sort of power struggle
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, Mark and Mariska get
they're done. And then we see the two stoners, which I find their names are Mike and Eddie. The main
well, we keep
stoner.
saying Mariska, but that's not the name of
That's
the
not her
character.
name. Her
Donna, right?
Well, I mean, she's like the only person I know from the movie. So. Donna's done.
So we have the stoners, and they're
Mike and Eddie.
Yes, everyone couples up. So.
Yeah, and they're smoking their pot. And then we see Robin and Dick.
Yeah.
They're having fun upstairs.
They just go right for it.
They go right for it. They're in the vampire doll room. And of course, after they're done, Dick's like, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I know he won't. So he goes off and he sees a hot lady at the bottom of the stairs in a negligee. And she's like, come here. And he's like, okay, I'm so lucky.
I get all the hot ladies in this movie.
I get all the hot ladies. And he makes out with her and then asks who she is.
Make out first, ask questions later.
Exactly.
And he gets tongue choked by Daddy Graves, who was posing as
this sexy apparition.
Yeah.
So he's done. Tongue choked.
Sad for Dick.
Sad for Dick. And then poor Robin, she gets attacked by the
vampire doll thing
that turns out to be a ghoulie wearing a costume.
And actually they only show this ghoulie at this moment. They never come back to this ghoulie, but it's like a bigger than
like
the other ghoulies. So I would say he's probably like 3 or 4 feet as opposed to 1 foot.
He's very reptilian and has longer claws, and he just oozes green.
It was a pretty cool image though when he's kind of bursting out of the suit and it's like this toy Dracula.
Yeah,
type
toy
suit.
Dracula.
And the Dracula's kind of like crying out these this like oozy
the Dracula
green.
eyes start oozing green. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. Oh, and meanwhile, so one of the stoner guys, while he's going to look for some matches for their joints,
we find out his name's Mike. He's like,
I think we were calling him Mark
back.
Before.
I was calling him Stoner Dude, the one that did the Homer / Curly on the floor, break dancer. Yeah.
So he goes off to find some matches, and then
he says, "I'll be right back too."
He's kind of I don't know. He kind of passes out after he sees Grizzle and Greedy Gut.
I forget.
They do some sort of magic,
and he just passes out.
Yeah, and so he doesn't meet any sort of grisly fate. He just kind of passes out and falls on the floor. They drag him outside, and then
there's a brief scuffle between Grizzle Gut or Greedy Gut and Grizzle. Greedy Gut's like, "Oh,
one of
come
the
on,"
Ghoulies.
and Grizzle's like, "No, I don't want to do this anymore." You're like, oh, he's having a change of heart. He doesn't want to do what?
The minions have a conscience.
Conscience, yeah, they do. And then Eddie's like, "Oh, where's my buddy? I'm bored." He's like throwing his beer cans around like a slob.
But you never really see what happened to him. He's just kind of like passed out.
And he's still breathing. You can see his body breathing.
Oh.
And then Eddie sees his friend, quote unquote, in another room smoking, and he's like, "Hey, stop bogarting that joint." And then he turns around, and it's not Mike.
He gets mauled by
the rat monkey, the rat mole.
Yeah, the mole rat ghoulie
gets,
who's being held by Grizzle and Greedy Gut, and kind of like throws the ghoulie in his face.
That's how you use these ghoulies as weapons. You just throw them at someone's face.
Yeah. So then we also get I can't remember which happens first, but we get Rebecca, she is walking off, storming out, or what was it?
He puts the amulet back on her.
That's right.
And then she wakes up. She's like, "What's going on? Oh, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be mind controlled." And she goes out. And this is my favorite scene, actually, when she sees Robin, her friend, her dead friend, undulating on the floor, and we have this cool little series of Dick's dead body is undulating on the floor.
Yeah, they're
Robin's
like reanimating
body. Yeah, and I was like, wow, they're really good at this.
Yeah,
they must be professional dancers.
Yeah, that was actually a really good body movement.
Yeah,
whether it was done just all them or with some sort of trick, some sort of
I kind of feel like
trick.
it was them. I feel like they must have body movement training, and that could be why they were cast. And she turns around at the top of the staircase in time to see Jonathan come out of the bedroom, and she rips off the amulet and she says, John, how could you? And she falls backward down the
She's scared by
stairs.
the
undulating
by the
friend.
spider monkey
Oh, is that what she sees?
ghoulie. The
Oh.
spider monkey ghoulie flies out like a flying squirrel,
Oh.
scares her, and then she falls down the
Falls backwards
stairs.
down the stairs. He's like,
and-
no, I can bring you back.
And then she's presumed dead as well.
She's dead. And he's like, I can bring you back. So he takes her to the basement because that's where all the cool stuff happens.
Yep, and we're getting into climax
Mhm.
moment here. You
And
can
all the
start to feel it.
friends, the 6 dead friends now, because they're all dead now, they're all like
Wrapped
sitting,
up in white
wrapped up in their
sheets.
white sheets from head to toe. Rebecca's on the altar. He's getting ready to bring her back to life. And that's when Daddy Graves comes in. He's like, you thought that you had the power? I did.
I was using you
I
to
was
do
using
my
you.
bidding.
I need your soul for Lucifer. You are my sacrifice, blah, blah, blah. And they're like,
I came
"Oh."
back to do the job that should have been done 25 years ago.
And like, oh, okay, so that's what his aim was. He had a sacrifice for Lucifer.
And at that moment, Jonathan loses his glowing green eyes. Or maybe he
Right.
loses it a little bit before, but
Maybe that means that he's becoming more human again.
he's kind of coming to. He's realizing
he's gaining
that,
his humanity again.
yeah.
Okay. And they have like this like little battle sort of, and he thinks that Grizzle and Greedy Gut betrayed him, but then they're like, oh, we're gonna help you a little bit, sort of. And and then
he's tempted by a reanimated Rebecca.
And that's when the minions are like, don't do it, it's a trick.
That's right.
And then the caregiver comes down in his like warlock garb, and he's like, I will defeat you. And they have this zap battle, and they
it's totally a Star Wars, like Darth Vader. There's like Darth Vader chokeholds and Jedi throwing across the room.
So yeah,
And the sort of like eye lasers back and forth.
yeah, and for some reason the caregiver is cackling the whole time. He's like, I knew this moment was coming. This is my time to shine. And they both zap each other into oblivion, and like caregiver cackling the whole time, and they're gone.
Yep. And then the house is kind of shaking.
Yeah,
and breaking
Rebecca comes
apart.
back up from the floor and like, oh, she's not dead. And they run over to the friends and they wake up. They're not bloody anymore. And
It turns out that nobody's dead.
nobody's dead.
Would somebody mind telling me what the hell is going on?
It's a long story, Mike. But it's over now.
Which made our tallying of our predictions
Way
very
off.
complicated.
However, okay, we decided that we're still going to give ourselves points for these
for the
deaths
ones that
happened.
died, but we don't get a point for them coming back to life.
Yeah, it's
So it'd be like each one had like a 3-part point system. So if we guessed that someone died and how they died and that they came back to life, that would have been 3 points. But obviously we didn't guess that they all came back to life.
how could you have guessed that?
That was quite a shock.
Yes, it
That
was quite
very,
a shock.
very good writing.
All right, let's get into our predictions.
Mhm.
All right, so let's start with who dies and what we got right.
All right. Well, I'm most proud of my Toad prediction.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, I had a feeling he was going to die in a bog because for some reason he was named Toad.
Yep, and you were correct on that. So you get a point.
So
for that
I
one.
get 2 points,
2
for
points.
that because he died and he died in the bog.
I also mentioned that Toad was killed by the green ghoulie.
Right.
So I get a point for that too.
So we each get 2 points for Toad dying.
Yes, I think I get 1 point because I just said I was more general. I said bit or mauled. I'll give myself 1 point for that.
Oh,
Yours was more specific. Yours was like dead on.
thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. I think I do actually have on here green ghoulie as well. Okay, and then I don't get any points for Rebecca being impregnated and blowing up with her ghoulie pregnancy.
What about
points
others
for
that
that.
have died? So, my proudest one is that I predicted that the groundskeeper would die, saving Jonathan at a climactic moment.
Whereas
So that is worth 2 points.
Yeah, I predicted that he would live and help John send all the ghoulies back to the nether realm.
So technically,
points.
yeah, no points on
No
that one.
points for that because in the end, the ghoulies are all in the station wagon with them.
That's true. Let's see. We each predicted that the stoner or one of the stoners or both of the stoners would die.
Yeah.
We thought it was going to be on the toilet because
Yeah.
of that
Mike on the
comment
toilet.
about like,
Mhm.
what was it? I need to.
I'm gonna summon something from the bathroom. And
Yeah, he made that comment earlier, but
Yeah.
we got that partially wrong.
yeah.
I gave myself half a point for that.
I gave myself half a point for saying that he died because I feel like he died, even though we never really saw him die. But he was down there at the end, wrapped up in the white gauze.
It was unclear if he died. When we last saw him, he was just kind of passed out in the yard.
So yeah.
But the other guy,
Eddie,
Eddie,
died.
he
He
I
definitely
didn't write
died.
Eddie specifically. I thought it was just going to be the small glasses guy.
Yeah, I wrote down that Eddie died. I wrote down that. I thought that Eddie was gonna die from the creepy vampire puppet in the
Mhm.
closet, but no, he just died. So I get 1 point for that. And Dick, I thought that he would die by getting bit in the genitals. But
Well, close. He died after
did
he
die.
had sex with
Yeah.
Robin, and then like tried to go for the
Yeah,
blonde lady.
he did die in a provocative manner.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I'll still just give myself 1 point for that.
And I also wrote that he died, but I forgot to really write a reason why, and I think I stole your reason why.
That's fine.
Can't remember what it was. So I'll give myself a point
Yeah.
there. We're just giving points
Just
away. Yeah.
Points willy-nilly.
Points
It's not
everywhere.
a structured system. I get 1 point for Donna living,
I get a
even though
point
she died first.
Yeah. I get a point for Robin. So I had that Robin, and the thing I was wrong about was that none of the Ghoulies actually died. I thought there would be some sort of fight back against the Ghoulies, and I thought Rebecca was gonna take
Stomp on
charge
them.
and
Yeah.
just like stomp on
I thought
one
she was
or
gonna stomp.
hit
Yeah.
one with a broom or with that pan
With her
or
little
something
skillet. Yeah.
with her skillet.
Mm-hmm.
But no Ghoulies died
No Ghoulies
in this
died.
movie.
They all lived. They all got to go on in the back of that car with them.
Yeah, not only did they live, they get to go on a road trip
They
at
get to
the
go on
end.
a road trip. So that sounds like a fun sequel.
And then for those who lived, I put down Jonathan and Rebecca, and you put down
I put down Donna and Jonathan.
Jonathan.
They were my only two that I thought were going to live.
Right. And we kind of had a feeling that Jonathan was going to live because we
Yeah.
accidentally saw
We
that he was in
accidentally
Ghoulies 4,
yeah.
just looking up the
Whoops.
actors and stuff. We'll know not to do that for next time, just in case.
I just wanted to find tidbits, guys.
Yeah. But we get points for that because in the end, everybody,
They all live.
except for Daddy Warlock or Daddy Graves.
And caregiver.
The caregiver.
Yeah.
We can say that I don't know what to say that they died, but they are
They are
definitely
in
not
a different
of this
realm.
Earth anymore.
Yeah, they are on a different plane.
Yeah,
for
so that's
sure.
just as good as death if you're concerning people of the Earth. So so we give ourselves points for those as well.
Yeah.
Now to plot points. We mentioned a couple, but my proudest plot point was that the dad was going to come back from the grave, try to kill Jonathan. I did predict that the Ghoulies would save Jonathan, although that didn't happen. But Grizzle and Greedy Gut kind of tipped him off that he was being tricked, which in a sense saved him. But they weren't Ghoulies, but they were minions.
They were minions.
I'm not going to give myself a point for that, but I will give myself a point for Dad comes back from the grave. I thought that was fairly obvious when they were just lingering shots on the grave the whole time.
Dad's gotta come back.
And then I thought that Jonathan was going to come to his senses at the end of the movie and kind of snap out of it.
Oh, that was
which
good.
he did. So I gave myself a point for
I think
that.
I thought he was just gonna still stay evil and try to have his caregiver cover everything up.
Yeah, and we both got a point for the friends being invited over for another party.
Yeah,
but actually a ritual.
It was a party ritual, but it still was. We knew it was going to be some sort of ritual,
right?
Under the guise of a party. I thought it was gonna be like a baby shower rager.
Yes,
we didn't guess dinner party, but still we guessed party.
Yeah, dinner party. Yeah.
And I did guess that Jonathan would go full demon with like glowing green eyes because he hadn't really gone full green eyes before we stopped.
Mhm.
And so I guessed that he would go full demon, which I think was pretty obvious.
Yes. And I also got wrong that Jonathan had a plan to have a baby to complete the blood ritual.
Yeah.
He might have had that plan, but that plan was quickly
Backfired because
thwarted.
Rebecca was not into it.
She was too savvy for that.
Yeah, she's like, no, there's some sort of pentagram under the bed.
And then with the movie, they'd have to have some either like a sped up gestation period or a time jump or something. It
Yeah.
didn't seem
I
very
don't think
plausible.
they-
So,
yeah.
thinking back on that prediction, it wasn't a good one, but
Well, you
that's all
never
right.
know.
That's all right. All right. I think that's all of my predictions.
So I have a total of 10.5 points.
And I've tallied along too. And, hopefully we did this right. But I also tallied 10.5 points. So it looks like we tied.
Kind of crazy.
How did that happen?
What? That's weird. It's weird as the ending to Ghoulies.
Yes. Had we had just listed every character as living or dying, I think we probably would have been we would have gotten points for any of those predictions.
Yes. We would have had at least 7 points anyway.
Yeah.
Or 8, I guess, because they're.
But so I guess final impressions on the movie.
The ending was a lot better than the first half. I actually really enjoyed the ending that
we start to get the action.
Yeah, and I think what really sold it for me were the weird interpretive dance body undulating movements on the ground.
That was pretty good, yeah.
By Dick and Robin, and I think Eddie also had some good moves, but mostly Dick. I really did not like his character until I saw that cool pop and lock on the ground.
Yeah, I would say that while I didn't think it was a good movie, I was entertained and I did enjoy the little creature ghoulies. I thought they were really fun.
I liked that they multiplied.
There were some good moments, like the vampire bleeding the ooze.
Yeah.
The undulation when they were like coming back to life, and Rebecca had a bunch of good moments.
Oh yeah. Aside from her good moments, she had a cool necklace.
Yeah, I thought she did a great. She had a good performance in the movie. The sort of like Star Wars
eye battle.
Yeah, the like energy battle at the end. I wasn't into as much, but I did really like the fact that they're like, oh, we're all alive, and now we're gonna drive off, and you see the ghoulies in the backseat.
And someone even was like, "What happened? Don't ask."
So it ends on like a almost like a freeze frame of the stoner guy,
but like
Mike.
a freeze frame comedy style. Like he like turns.
He's like
around
looking back, like, oh. So yeah,
it was enjoyable.
It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we have now experienced Ghoulies. I feel like that's one that's been on our list for quite some time.
It's been on my list since I was probably like 11 because I would see it in Blockbuster and I'm like, oh, I should rent that one day. But I don't want to spend my money on Ghoulies yet.
Yeah, and I think this was a good one to do our our gut reaction, first gut reaction episode. So,
and I would say that it probably was geared towards kids. It seemed very much
the ending definitely cemented it towards that.
I think it was we were unsure because we stopped on the lovemaking scene. And I thought, well, maybe this is not a kids movie.
Well, I was thinking there's the whole sort of satanic element, and then there was like that sort of like lovemaking scene. And I don't know, even in movies that are
but they don't mention the satanic element. They don't call it Satan until the end. He says Lucifer. And even the word Lucifer as opposed to the devil or Satan, Lucifer sounds more mild and more palatable for kids to hear, I think.
But you still get a sense of like Satanism
something
because
dark is happening.
Well, you have the pentagrams and you have the sort of like blood rite.
Yeah, but kids don't know what pentagrams are, I don't think.
They probably do.
I didn't know what a pentagram
these days.
was. Okay, well, fine. But back in '84, I don't think most kids knew what a pentagram was. If I think about how old I was when I saw Leprechaun, an 8-year-old, I don't think I knew what a pentagram was when I was 8.
To be fair, I probably didn't know what it was either.
Thank you. One more thing I want to mention is I thought it very strange when Mariska, Donna, was screaming with Toad having a ghoulie attached to his face. It seemed so unnatural and her scream was just so high pitched. And I was kind of like, oh, that sounds really strange. Poor Mariska. And I read later that that's not her scream. That's like a stock scream because her voice is naturally deep and husky, and the director didn't think her scream was like loud or high pitched enough. So
So they
that
had
was
some
interesting.
stock
Yeah, that's
audio.
like,
That's always good in a movie when you can point out or when you can hear the Wilhelm scream or the yeah.
yeah, and it doesn't match the body that's screaming. Like Mariska is like screaming with her whole body, and this tiny little high pitched screams coming out.
Any other tidbits that you found out about this movie?
Yeah. Okay. So one thing that kind of made it make more sense was it was originally planned to have some 3D elements.
Oh, I see.
And the audience was supposed to put on their glasses whenever the characters in the movie had glasses on.
Oh, I see.
And they abandoned that idea. But that's why you still see those scenes where they're wearing glasses at a dinner party. But I actually kind of appreciate not knowing that beforehand because it just made that dinner party seem a little bit weirder.
Yeah.
And like, oh, that was Jonathan's way to cover up that he had green neon eyes.
Jonathan, he was sort of like an awkward party host where everyone's having fun. They're like, "Oh, what are we gonna do next?" And he's like, "Let's have a ritual."
Yeah.
And then let's have a dinner party,
And
but you
everyone
have to
wears
wear
sunglasses.
these glasses that I've provided you. They're
Very
probably thinking
strange man.
what's with this
Like,
guy?
he's never had parties before.
Yeah, he always has the weirdest parties.
Oh, Jonathan. He'll find his way.
All right. Well, that was Ghoulies.
It was Ghoulies.
A lot of fun. Yes.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for watching another episode of Gutted.
All right. And you can find us on Twitter at Gutted Horror Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at Gutted Horror Podcast or on YouTube at Gutted Horror Podcast.
Yeah.
And if you would like to reach us directly, our email is, can you guess it? guttedhorrorpodcast@gmail.com. So feel free to reach out to us. Give us any feedback you'd like. Maybe you can comment on some of the topics that we were talking about, or just say hi. Just say what's up.
Yeah.
All right. This has been Gutted.
Gutted.